Hi there. Thanks for tuning in. This is the Follow Your Passion podcast. I'm your host, Erwin Wils. I'm a mindset and business strategist and founder of Millionaire Life Strategy. In this podcast, I'm interviewing my clients and other entrepreneurs that are following their passion and make a good living out of it. When you want to know more about me or what I can do for you, check out my website, millionaireLifestrategy.com. But first, check out this episode of Follow Your Passion. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Follow Your Passion podcast. And today we have a special guest, and I would like to introduce her in a different way as normal. Because back in 2017, I was attending a business event where I was interviewed on stage, and also Mel Gibson was interviewed on stage there. And the first question the interviewer asked was, "What do women want?" And I think I've got the key to that question in my show today, because here's Sulonda Smith. And Sulonda is helping men, how do I put it, improve the relationship with their spouse, with their friends, and I guess in understanding them and creating a wonderful relationship. And she does that with all her years of experience as a therapist. And she's very passionate about her, and that's why she's in the show. So welcome, Sulonda. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be fun today.
Yeah. So am I right? Do I have the key in my show today? What do women want?
Yes, you are on point today. You are on point. I'm going to give you all the juicy details today.
So, Sulonda, tell me a bit about your background. How did you come to this niche, I would say?
As a therapist for 27 years, I've heard so many stories. And every single time I had a male client come into the office, whether it was by himself or with his partner, it was always him sinking into the couch by the end of the session. So I said, no, this cannot happen. This is not good. What's happening with him where he's not getting his needs met in the relationship? And then also, because I have 7 brothers and hearing their stories over the years, and also being privileged, I say, at offering advice for them that actually worked, I figured this was a good time to start working with men. I don't know a lot of people like myself who work with men in the way that I do. And so however I can help while I'm here on the planet, this is my passion. This is what I do.
Nice. So how was it to grow up in a family with 7 brothers?
Oh, very interesting. I'm the oldest, right? So I think I had a little bit more easier. I also have 3 sisters. So being the oldest, maybe I didn't get roughhoused as much. Maybe I didn't have to fight my way to the last potato on the plate. So it actually was very enlightening. I think growing up with mostly men, I didn't know it at the time, but it started a greater appreciation for who they were, because we watch all of these animations, Snow White, Cinderella as young girls.
Yeah.
And we are automatically trained in that way with who men are, because what we see and hear repetitiously is what becomes our reality. And so not seeing men with emotions, or that they could express their emotions, especially in the Cinderella stories, that's how I grew up. I was like, oh, but even though I had men in the house, so it was like a conflict. It's like, okay, wait, okay, he's saying he has this problem here, but he doesn't show it the way he should show it like women do. So I can't really tell it's a problem. So it was fun, challenging, and it still is.
Nice. And it's actually fun because you mentioned it, that the way you grow up and what you experience in your environment, that it seems normal until you get out of your environment and you see it's totally different. I remember that, do you know the speech skater Johnny Davis?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I remember that he made a remark once that he thought that speech skating was a black man sport, until he entered the international sports and he noticed he was the only one.
Yeah.
right? But because of his environment where you grew up and where he learned how to speed skate, he only saw black people skating. So it's interesting how that can, how reality can be different than what you think it was.
Oh my goodness. And I love what you just said, Erwin, because when it comes to people expressing who they are in their relationships, it's not just like what they may have learned reading a book or watching a movie like with Mel Gibson, but it's also how they were raised, what they were shown to do and what to say just by watching their caregivers. So it became something of an automated process. And then on top of that, you have your personality. And then you also have maybe the traumas or the heartbreaks or pains that you've experienced along the way until you get to the big commitment of a marriage or a partnership.
Yeah.
All that comes with you into the relationship, but we don't know that those things that we learn how to cope with or deal with or respond with doesn't work in our current relationships anymore because it's not the same person.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe you can relate to this as well, that um, I'm been trained as a hypnotherapist, and I did a little bit of NLP next to that. And you all have your preferred communication styles, right? Some people like to be more visual, some are more kinesthetic, and some are more auditory. Those are the most three preferred systems. And when people fall into love, they use all systems, right?
Yes.
They buy flowers and gifts to each other. They hug a lot. They kiss a lot. They say that they love each other. And when people are together for a certain amount of time, they fall back to their preferred representation system, right? And that's when miscommunication can occur. Is that something that you recognize in your practice as well? That people have different ways of expressing the love to the other person, and that the other person doesn't understand it because they have a different representation system?
Oh, absolutely. And I really believe that's where we fall short on educating. Like if I had it my way, third grade is where the education would start in learning how to respond to your future partner, how to engage them beyond what Gary Chapman has, the 5 love languages, right? Most people know about those and they're super useful. But definitely, I believe that we engage in a full way in our relationships, but we don't know how, and we don't even know it exists. So you just saying that is huge, to educate people that that's a big part to pay attention to.
Yeah. And I love what you said in our earlier talk, that um, the men you help and guide, they come to you by themselves. They're not sent by the partner, right?
Yes, yes, yes. I love that.
So how less do you feel, or how grateful do you feel when you're able to help those men improve the relationship?
So for me, even as a child, I was always excited when somebody else got excited. Like that's the one way I will respond to someone. Like if they're excited, I'll match their excitement. But if someone's crying, I would have empathy, but I wouldn't match that so that it can help them move through it quicker. But
Yeah.
it's so important to recognize who you are. And when I began to do that, to really figure out who I was and accept all the other parts that maybe I wasn't so excited about, then I could find a passion to help someone else. So for me, it's kind of like a high for me, like a natural high. I just love being around people anyway, even though on paper I'm an introvert, and I think, is there such thing as an omnivert? Is that a term? Like you get to be both in certain situations?
Well, I don't know. I'm an introvert by nature as well. But the
Yeah.
moment you are able to help others, it doesn't play any role. And I even think that being an introvert, it actually helps building trust for the other person.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. So I thrive on helping. And when men come back and say, one client, Mark, he was hilarious. His wife sent him, unfortunately. Let's say fortunate. Let's say fortunate.
Yeah.
Because when he came into the office, he first said, I just want you to know, I don't know why I'm here. I don't think this stuff is going to work. And I'm just here because I want to save my marriage. I said, no problem. Give me 3 sessions. How's that? He says, yeah, okay. But I know it's not going to work. So by the 3rd session, he comes back, he sits down, he's quiet. He looks me straight in my eyes for at least a good 10 seconds. And he says, I can't believe this blankety blank stuff worked. Like, what is this? Like, and it was simple. And so we had a good laugh behind that. But I think he figured out it doesn't have to be so complicated. Everyone says women are complicated, but it's really knowing what to say, how to say it, and to decode and to read her language. Like, we go to these jobs and we work for promotions. We'll learn new skill sets for promotions, more money, more accolades. But when it comes to relationships, we don't always find that valuable to learn a new skill set. And I always say women are a skill set.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It takes work and effort.
Yes. Yes. And I'm a woman. I will admit that, like, wholeheartedly. And I have many women who, when they find out what I do, first thing, oh my God, let me send you my man. Let me send you my husband. Oh my God, let me. And right. And I get roaring applause in audiences that's mixed. And all the men are looking like this. Right. They have these long faces like, I'm not going to her. And all the women are like, okay.
Nice.
So it's really interesting.
Yeah. And it's what you said, it's those moments with certain clients that keep with you for years. I remember that one of the skills I'm a hypnotherapist by training 8 years ago. And one of the things I use is storytelling, during my sessions. And I was a fan immediately when I trained in it. And I had a male client, and I used my storytelling skills. And after the session, he said, I was fully aware the whole session. I heard all 3 stories. So I said to him, okay, well, I hope that the message got through, right? And let's see what happens. And I used nine stories during that session. So I knew it worked, and he was convinced. He was aware the whole session and heard all 3 stories. And those things, they stick to you, and it's always fun to remember those moments.
Yes, and that's a powerful skill set you have too with the hypnosis. Absolutely.
So, do you remember your first client and how it felt to be able to help him?
When you said that, what came to my mind is a group home. My first assignment when I started my counseling journey, my master's degree, even before the program got started, I started working in a boys' group home in Oakland, California. These boys range from 7 to 14. And their stories were so gut-wrenching for me. Even thinking about it now, because I still hear so many stories, kind of makes me tear up, because they struggled not only with having caregivers who wanted to take care of them, but then also with who they were. And then, even at that age, not even having the communication to say, hey, I'm hurting. Like, I don't like what X did to me, or etc. So I remember my first client was age 7. And I clearly asked him who he thought he was in the world. He said, I want to be Superman. I said, well, who do you think you are now? He said, I don't know. I said, well, what do you think your job is? He said, if my mom was with me, it's to keep her safe. I don't care if he was 6 to 99. That's always a common statement, is that I want to create a safe environment for the men that I love, or for the women that I love, or the people in my territory or my kingdom, or whatever words they use, little or big. Yeah. So it was really profound for me to hear that. And then even more so to hear that same sentiment with men at any age. I really just want to keep her safe. I want to help her be happy. Well, let me correct that. Many men would say, I want to make her happy. But I always say you can't make anybody happy. You can only add on to what they already choose to be.
Yeah.
And for many men, that's shocking, because that's what their duty is. They were told, make your woman happy, make your wife happy.
Yeah. And I also think that you mentioned something else profoundly between the lines, is that I think we still live in a society where it's not common for men to show their emotions or even talk about it, right? And that's actually, I think that's actually also part of the problem, of the struggle, because for women, it's very common to talk about the emotions and show them and talk about the feelings. And men are it's almost like a weakness when you start talking about your emotions and your feelings. And I think if men will be more open talking about the emotions and sharing that with a partner, then there would be a much better relationship already.
I agree. And also what I've learned is men, the younger generation, let's say millennials and below, they are more open today. They'll tell you, I don't like that. They'll tell you, right? Excuse me, they're
Yeah.
very vocal. And then the older generation, it is a little tougher, as each generation has its title theme, right?
Yeah.
And from the silent generation, all the way down to, X. But what I find is men do best when I ask them with what you said earlier, story form. When I ask them, so if you could have things the way you want it, like really, really want it, that could help you be happy and have peace, describe to me what that looks like. If I'm looking in the window at your life or your home, tell me what that looks like. And then they're able to describe that. And from there, I can hear the emotions or the feelings come out. And it's a technique that I teach women as well.
Yeah.
To help their men and to understand. And that men are biologically wired differently from them. They have more oxytocin, that bonding hormone. He doesn't. He has lower levels. So he's not interested in understanding why Sarah wore 6-inch pumps walking up to the Capitol of 4 flights of stairs and then sprung her ankle, and she wore a polka dot dress with stripes, right? He just wants the bullets. Okay, is she okay? Did she get what she needed? Do I need to help? That's all.
Yeah.
So yes, I think that men are learning how to open up more with all of these movements we've had over the last decade, with the media changing, with there being more movies of men expressing how they feel. I think that it's helping them psychologically to say, oh, okay, this is a thing that I can do now. Now I just need to know how to do it, how to get this out, and what words do I use to do it. Right. And that's what I help with.
Nice. And it's actually what you said, and I can totally relate to that. I have a very good relationship with my brother-in-law. Sometimes we go in the evening playing snooker or something else, right? And when we come home and my wife says, well, how was it? Well, it was great. We had a great time. So what did you talk about? And I honestly have to show, I don't know. We talk about the game but we don't share whole stories about what happened to us and this and that. And she now accepts that, right? That we're not, well, we challenge each other a little bit, we play and we talked about this and that, and that's it. And sometimes it feels like you have to talk the whole evening, so to speak. that's also a difference, but we use it. We're now together for let me see, 32 years. So we know each other a while now. So she's used to it.
Yes. No, I love that. 32. Congratulations with that.
Thank
and
you.
Happy. Always my second question whenever someone throws out a number is, are you happy still?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah. But it's funny to notice sometimes that those differences, right? And we know it from each other. We accept it from each other. And we also have a very open communication, and that's definitely helping in improving the relationship.
Yes, absolutely. Acceptance is a big key. I think people don't think about because we come in with expectations, which for me, it's not for everyone. Expectations is an emotional response that people are looking for. But when you change it to a goal, which can always be moved or modified and just attained, it works better. At least that's what I found in sharing with people. Remove the emotional expectation and work towards the goal. That way you have more room when that other person doesn't do what you want them to do.
Yeah.
Or doesn't perform in that act in the way you think they should be performing.
Yeah. So, do you work mostly one-on-one, or do you also do group sessions? Or because you mentioned you started out in some sort of group session with kids, with teenagers?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so I do one-on-one. That's really important. I think men value having that private session. It's not like women, they'll get into the group and then just tell all the details about their relationship, right?
Yeah.
So one-on-one, and then I have online programs, and through the online coaching programs or the courses, you have an option to jump on during the month if you have a quick question. And most men do it anonymously, like it's through Zoom, but they won't show the video, which is fine, so the voice is there.
Yeah.
They get to ask their question, get it answered, and jump off. And so it's an ongoing support. And then I also do workshops. I have a workshop in Atlanta coming up called Win Her Back Bootcamp. And
Mm.
that's going to be super fun. It's a weekend of gameplay with strategies, right? So we have
Oh,
activities, the strategy, how to communicate, understand how she thinks, how to position and pivot yourself, so that you feel safe and she feels heard, right? And how to deal with conflict. So that's going to be super fun.
nice.
Mhm.
And do you think there are also people like you working the other way around, like helping women understand men as well, or?
There are, I think I've come across maybe 5 who's really been around for a while. I don't know many people who are working with men in relationships. Most of them work with men for dating,
Mm.
but I don't know many unless they're a therapist and they're working with couples, probably, or individuals for men. But I don't know many people who's doing that now. I wish there were more.
Yeah,
Um, I think there will be as we move forward and men become more open. Yes.
because I can imagine that, or maybe you are just maybe we are too simple, so to speak. But
Mhm.
that for women, how men would communicate and would also be interesting. Or is it easy for you?
Um, it's become easier, and I still learn more. I used to do workshops for women to help them understand men. And I love doing those. But then men started showing up more and wanting help. And I said, well, there's quite a few people working with women, and there's a lot of resources for them. But I didn't see a lot for men.
Hmm.
And that became more of a passion. And when I was teetering on, well, should I work with women? Should I do both? Should I work with men? People told me whenever I talked about men, I was super excited. When I talked about working with women, it was a care and empathy, but there wasn't like this overwhelming excitement about it. Even though I love women, I'm a woman myself. So what
Yeah.
I decided to do as I'm working with men is that I have a course that she can take so that she can understand the developmental stages of men. So when he comes back with these new tools, because she's going to notice, right, she'll know what to do and why and not be so skeptical, right, and be more supportive.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. And I also do like master classes a few times a year. So those wives can jump on and get to know me better and understand what their men are learning and practicing. And then they can have a different perspective too about relationship in general, like what it really is and
Yeah,
not what we've been taught.
nice. It also reminds me of something that you mentioned at the beginning. Maybe that's a new avenue for you. Would it be interesting in training or teaching children? Would it be
Mm,
interesting for you?
it
Because
would.
they should actually start at primary school or maybe even kindergarten. Maybe that's too soon, but
Mm,
um, I always say it's better to prevent something than to solve something at the end, right? Because then the hurt has already happened, so to speak.
mm. Yeah. That's really good. As absolutely, yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And interesting, you're asking me that is that I went to an event last weekend and spoke to a young lady who started an organization to target younger groups of generations and educate them about self development and communication. I was like, okay. And she asked me to come and speak. I was like, okay, how old are they? Right. And she says, oh, they're middle school age, which is like 13, 14, 15. I said,
Mm,
okay, not bad. So thinking of a format to help them assimilate the information. I love improv, comedy. I'm just fun. Like whenever I work with people, I crack
yeah,
jokes, I can make light of things. So yes, to answer your question, yes, I am starting to work with the younger population and teaching in these tools.
nice, nice. And maybe they'll send their fathers to you as a client.
Ooh, that's a great idea. I can have a child father day.
Yeah, why not?
good. Yeah, look, I love it. Yes.
Yeah. Your son understands his mother. Now you have to understand your wife.
Yes. Family day, everybody show up.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. So what do you feel is your biggest achievement until now?
Personal in life or in the work that I do? They're not really
Both.
separate, but yeah. Um, Probably having the wherewithal that this work was needed and get past my fears or concerns about putting myself out there to do the work. I
Nice.
say that because either I've gotten men aren't interested in that. Nobody's going to come to you for that. Why are you doing that? You're wasting your time. And that was from men. Sometimes it was a little harsher. And then from women, it was, well, you can't talk to men. You know, they don't listen. Like, I don't even know why you're working with them. Why you should be working with women. You're a woman. So all of these things for a few years really weighed heavy on me. I was like, oh my goodness. So I'm really disrupting the industry, so to
Yeah.
speak, and speaking out for men. And I think that that's very important at this time because of what we're going through um, with identity roles. You know, there's so many to
Oh yeah.
choose from now, right?
Yeah.
And I think men sometimes don't know where they fit anymore because the old traditional roles don't work as well as they used to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think you put it great, and I also think that sticking to it, being consistent, um, knowing you have found like a gap in the system, right? There's no much help for them on this path, and I think you've done a great job choosing that path and not choosing the easy way, but to persist your own goals and stick with it.
Yes, thank you for that.
Yeah. So, where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
5 years from now, I see myself sitting on a beautiful, exquisite beach with a bunch of men, and we're all in a circle, just relaxing, conversating, enjoying each other. And it's an absolute norm to talk about what's happening in your life and not feel ashamed or embarrassed about it.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can see when you're speaking it, you're already there in your mind.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm already planning like a retreat for next year, right?
Exactly. Right. And that's beautiful because it you if you're listening to this episode, you'll hear the passion in it, right? It's in your voice. So wonderful. So um I think it's a very interesting topic, and I won't ask you all about the details, what women want, and what's the secret key to success and stuff like that. Because if men want, they have to contact you. But if you could share one little piece of wisdom or advice with the audience, maybe about following your passion or entrepreneurship, what would it be?
Well, I'd like to give a tip if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah. So men complain that women talk too long or too much or about a bunch of nothing, right? It's what I've heard, a bunch of nothing. And I encourage him to interrupt gently. Just say, oh, wait, babe, wait 1 second. I want to make sure I got this, right? And just say, did I hear you say blank? Because I'm a man, one thing at a time works best because I really want to help you be happy, right?
Yeah.
And she'll appreciate the interruption because you use some feeling words, right? That's a little tip. Okay. And I think it's been very powerful. It seems maybe minute, but it's very powerful because with women, it's all about what she hears you say that connects to her heart space. So it's really the brain, but we say the heart and the
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that can be very powerful tool.
That's not a little tip. That's a very big tip, I would say. So
Mm,
thanks for and I totally relate to that because um it's also how do I say it? It's confirming that you're paying attention, right?
Yes.
And that's the most important thing.
Yes.
Being attentive and at least checking in if you understood it correctly, because otherwise she might get back to that. And if you can't recall the story, you're in trouble. But no, but it's very important, and I recognize it. And men want to be polite and they don't want to interrupt the story. But if they're not involved, then they might miss out the important part. So.
Yeah, and she's not going to let it go that you started looking at the television with the football game on or your phone or started looking at something else while you're having a conversation. So yes, that's very important.
Exactly. Wonderful. So if people want to know more about you, Sulonda, or get in touch with you or send a man to you, how can you do that?
Easiest, quickest way is to go to my website, and that's sulondasmith.com. So that's SULONDASMITH.com. And then click the Work With Me link. You can book a call to have a chat. It's no charge for that, just to see if I'm a fit for you, or if I can help with what's going on. And then we go from there. And I can talk to you about what's happening. I've been known, even on those consultation calls, to drop some more tips. So it's just my heart. I really want people to be happy.
Yeah, we can't help ourselves, Sulonda. I recognize it.
Yes.
I actually had a hypnotherapy trainer, which I consider to be my mentor because he's very good. And he does a lot of conversational hypnosis. At a certain stage, he was so good that when he had to pre-talk with his clients, the problem was already solved. I didn't need a session with him. So he needed to change his tactics back then.
Yes, that'd be one quick session. Yes.
Yeah, but I recognize it. And it's, wonderful. So I hope a lot of men will come to you because it's very valuable, and there's this saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And when you're in a relationship, I would prefer go together because that's the most satisfying thing of all.
Oh, absolutely. I love that. Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing your wisdom and your passion, Sulonda. I think you have a great gap to fill. There will be plenty more clients for you. I'm sure of that, especially if they see the benefits of it and the results, and they will be there. I'm sure for that. So thank you for sharing your expertise and being my guest today. And let's keep in touch.
Thank you so much for having me, Erwin. This has been fun and it's absolute a pleasure. I appreciate you.
I hope you liked this episode. Make sure to check out the other episodes because each one is filled with interesting and inspiring stories and energy. Are you following your passion as well and make a good living out of it? Contact me and you could be my next guest. Would you like to follow your passion but are not there yet? Check out my website millionairelifestrategy.com and book an appointment to discover what I could do for you. Don't forget to share the podcast with your friends so that they get inspired as well.